So the recent advancements in injectables is pretty remarkable. In the past, most of the injectables were derived from animal products, and they had a high level of allergy associated with it. Nowadays, they're mostly hypoallergenic. There are very little reactions associated with them. But I think the most important aspect, in addition to the safety, which is so important, is the fact that they look so natural when they're placed appropriately. And that's one of the things that I think most people don't quite understand. It's not so much the product, but it's how the product is used. And it's not, it's not like buying a set of tires from one tire store versus another. Here, what you're when you get in a syringe of Juvederm and you apply it to your cheeks or wherever you're going to be doing it, it's how it's injected that ultimately creates the magic, the beautifully natural look. And that's a type of thing that requires really a high level of artistry and a vision that is associated with it. So the products have become very safe, which is wonderful. But again, at the end of the day, it's how those products are used in an artistic and really beautifully natural way is what makes them so unique and such a good part of our current arsenal. So a lot of people want to know what's the experience like for an injectable, the how and where associated with it. So injectables are done in the office setting. The patient comes in. The typical experience is we take pre-injection photographs to show what their face would look like after. Then we numb the area up with a topical numbing cream, and then we put ice on those areas to decrease the chance of bruising. Then the injections are literally just placed through the skin. And the technique that we use is one that we don't go through the skin multiple times, and that really helps decrease the chances of bruising. We use a technique that sort of very gently fans the fillers in. And I think that lends itself to a more natural look, less chances of irregularities, but a very comfortable experience for the patient overall. And Botox is virtually painless, and that's done in the muscles in here. We call them the 11s, the crow's feet, the lines out here. And the forehead lines. And sometimes we'll use it for unique things like lifting the brows. Other times we'll use it for the little bunny lines in here. And as far as fillers go, we use them just about anywhere in the face that needs some volume. We use them under the eyes, we use them in the temples, the cheeks, the lips, the nasolabial lines, down around the chin area. These are all areas that lose volume over time. And my overall philosophy and approach is when we restore the volume, we do it in a very balanced way. So we don't want to pack a bunch of fillers into the cheek and leave the person looking like a chipmunk, which is unfortunately a look that we see a lot around town. Is if you're going to put a little here, you need to balance it with the other areas that have also lost volume so the whole face looks like it's being elevated and lifted, not just that you've got big cheeks in the face of hollow temples and hollow eyes and everywhere else. So there's a lot of decision making that goes on, but fillers can virtually be used everywhere, and Botox for the most part is used in the upper face. So fillers nowadays have a wide range of efficacy in terms of how long they last. The typical filler probably lasts between 6 to 9 months. We have some fillers that can last a year to 2 years. We have some fillers that can last up to 4 years, like Sculpture, for example. But at the end of the day, the key thing as a patient to know is that the more filler you put in, the longer it will last. But that also translates to an overfilled look, So we prefer to do less filler and do them a little bit more often, as opposed to putting in so much that 2 years later you still look like you have filler in, but for the first year you look like you're bloated and overly filled. So Botox is interesting because it's probably one of the most studied injectables out there. It's been around for over 30 years, and it's been a lot of interesting studies. And one study that I always find really fascinating is an identical twin study that was done in Beverly Hills, probably about 20 years ago, I believe is when it was published. And what they did was they took sets of identical twins, and one twin received Botox starting in the mid-30s, and they followed them for, I think it was 13 years, and another twin did not get Botox. So they followed these sets of twins over this period of time, and what they basically found was the twin that received Botox had far fewer lines and wrinkles and aging changes around their upper face than the twin who was deprived of Botox during those really important years between the mid-30s and mid-40s. So really the long-term implications of Botox, if it's used regularly every 3 to 4 months, is that you're really slowing down the aging process of the lines in the upper face. And that's really the main purpose of Botox from a preventative point of view, is to preserve the integrity of the skin over time in that region. And then the immediate short-term impact is you just look better when you have Botox in. You look softer, you look more relaxed, you look more youthful. It's very interesting how fresh patients look when they have Botox in place.